Hi everybody, in this video we'll describe how to create a game over screen as well as a start screen for a 2D game in Unity. Previous videos we set up all the other aspects of the game like playable, character motion, environments, UI, and now we're going to build the start and end screens. So we're going to start with the end screen or the game over screen. When the player loses all their lives and health, then we're going to move to a game over screen. And screens are done within scenes or levels. So in my scenes folder, I'm going to come in here and go to File, New Scene. I'm doing empty. And then I immediately go to File, Save As, and go to my scenes folder. And I'm going to title this one Game Over Scene. Game Over Scene. Alright, so I have a blank scene. I'm going to first create a camera. So Game Object Camera. There's my camera. And then I'm going to create a UI element text. Start with there. So we'll say text, and we'll find that. There's our text. Let's change this to white text, and I'm going to increase the values to like 36. Make this larger so I can see it. I'm going to align it in the center for both the horizontal and vertical, and we'll type in the word game over. There we go. Let's scale this in a little bit more. So it's the size of our game over text. I'm going to zero this to my center of my UI. There we go. Alright, I'm also going to move this up a little bit. And I can change the font. So if you don't have any custom fonts, I've loaded a couple custom fonts in here. I have a fonts folder that I've dragged some fonts into. And if you go to the control panel and then search for fonts, here's all the fonts that are on my local computer. I can drag a new one in. So we'll see. I don't think I have one of these. Let's do the Latin wide. And I'm going to drag that into my fonts folder that I created in my Unity project. That adds it to my Unity project. And then with that text selected, I can now go find that particular font. I think it is this one, Latin one. There you go. So I'm going to need to make it a little wider, a little taller. There you go. So you can add custom fonts as long as you drag that font file into your Unity project folder and then select it in your text box. I'm also going to go to Game Object and do UI and add a button. Okay, so I'm going to zero this composition here. Maybe make it a little larger. And then with the text as well, we'll say, play again, play again. We'll make this larger, like 26 or something like that. And then our button size, go back up to our button size, reduce it down a little bit, try to make it consistent, maybe 170 by 65. There you go, 170 by 65. All right, move this down a little bit. There you go. You can also change the button color if I wanted to, so whatever kind of specific color I might want. I'm going to leave it white for right now. I can come into my text and change my text color as well. But overall, I'm going to leave that as default. You can customize that as much as you want to. I'm also going to add a custom background image. You can do this with just a simple color, but previously I took an image of my play space. I'm going to choose Game Object UI Image, and I'm going to drag this to the top right corner, and then I'm just going to scale this down to the bottom left corner. And in my image source, I have my background image, just a darker version of my character. It's in front of those other UI elements, so all I have to do is take that image and drag that above everything else. And then I'm just going to position the game over and my button over here, maybe on the right side of the screen. So let's actually take this and just drag it over to the right. There we go. We're going to add a couple of the buttons later, but that'll be a pretty good starting point. Let's hit play to see how this looks. There we go. So it's the size of the screen. I have a button here. My button's not doing anything, so now we need to set that up. Let's go ahead and save our scene as well, since we've added this new adjustments to it. To do this, what I'm going to do is actually create a new game object. So an empty game object, and we'll say game start. And it's just going to be consistent with all of our new UI start and end screens. Game start. And in this game start, it's just going to be an empty game object. I can zero out my position. Just going to put it back down here at the bottom. Position of it doesn't matter, but I'm going to use a custom script with this. So for this game over screen, I want, when I press this button, to replay the level. And the level that I want to replay is my sample scene. I've just named it sample scene as default. So when this button is pressed, I want to replay that sample scene. So I'm going to right click in my scripts folder and create a new script. And we'll call this one Scenes Changer. Scenes Changer. You can double click that to open that up. Okay, I also have my UI tracking script from a previous video, and I'm going to use that to, when my player loses all its health, to load this game over screen. Before I do that, let's create our Scenes Changer script so that way when that button's pressed, it can reload the playable level. So underneath using Unity Engine, I'm also going to search for using Unity Engine scene management, semicolon. And then I don't need void start or void update, so I can remove all of this out. And I'm going to add instead a public void load level scene. Open and close parentheses, turn down and add our curly brackets. And I'm going to look for a scene manager load scene, and open parentheses, open quotations, and I'm going to type in the scene I want to load, which is going to be called sample scene. So that's just my level scene. I'm going to do a semicolon at the end of that. And that's it. So basically when this button is pressed, I want to load my sample scene. Let's hit Control S to save. Let's go back into our Unity project. Make sure we don't have any errors. All right. And on that game start empty object, we're going to add that Scenes Changer script. There you go. So then now back with the button, I'm going to select the button, and down the bottom there's an on click. I'm going to click the plus symbol. And I want to drag that game start object into that none object position of my on click. There you go. And then now with the function, I should now see the Scenes Changer that I added with that script. And I'm going to click on the load level scene. That was that function we created in our script. So what that's going to do is when this button is pressed, it's going to load my main level. Let's save everything and go test this out. So if I hit play. Alright, there's my game over screen. When I click the play again button, it loads my play level. So that does exactly what I want it to do. Now what I want to set up is when I lose all my health and lose all my lives, I have 3 lives, so after I lose all of my lives, I want to load that game over screen. Okay, so after I lose this next life, I want to load the game over screen. So that is just going to be in my script for my UI tracking. In previous videos, we set it up to where if I lose a life, then that reduces the heart. If I lose 100% health, that reduces 1 life. And I do the same thing for losing the second life. Now what I want to do is add another if statement here. So if lives equals 0, close parentheses, and return down to open and close curly brackets. Now I'm going to say scene manager dot load scene, open parentheses, open quotation, and we'll do game over scene, close quotation, close parentheses, semicolon. And then at the very top, I just need to add that scene management using Unity Engine scene management, semicolon. Let's save that UI tracking script. Let that save, upload. Okay. Let's go back into our scenes and open up our sample scene. Okay, so the UI tracking script is on my player. Wherever my player is. There it is. So it's already on the player. So basically when the player loses all its hearts and lives, then I want to load that game over screen. Alright, so let's Control S to save and hit play. Alright, so when I hit play, take a second to get over here to my enemy. So if I lose my health, I now have 1 life left, or less. 2 lives. So if I lose my health again, I have 1 health or heart left. There you go. So if I do this the 3rd time, 75, 50, 25. Now if I lose my health again, I should load my game over scene. Here you go. So game over. And then now I can go back to play again. So I can hit play again and restart my level. So now we can build a game start scene. And we do this the same way. So we're going to do File, New Scene, Empty. We're going to start off by doing a new camera. And before we do anything else, let's go ahead and save. So save as in our Scenes folder. And we'll call this Game Start Scene. There you go. Alright, so let's add a UI element. And we can start with our image again. Zoom all the way out, scale this up, put in our background image. There we go. And then now when we go add our text, that will put our text on top of that. We can increase this again to 36. Put a white text to that. Make it bigger so we can see it. Platformer Mania is the name of our game. So maybe even larger, say 48. So this will be the name of our game. There we go. We'll center all of this. Put our fancy font on there. Platformer Mania. Here we go. I'm just going to zero this out to the center of the composition, and then I'll move it up some. There we go. So then now we're going to create some buttons. So there's button 1, and in the text, I think we did 26 for the size here. And we're going to say Start Game. I think we did like 170, 45 maybe, something like that. And we're going to zero this, center the composition, move it down a little bit. And then we can take that button and our text, kind of move it over towards the right. Something like that again. Alright, so we have our Start Game button. We can add other buttons in here as well. We can do, actually let's take our button and duplicate that. And then we'll kind of move that down. And then with that second button we can say Controls Credits. We just need to make our button a little wider. So maybe let's do 60. Oh, not that. 180. Yeah, let's do 190. I'm just trying to scale this up some. Match that there. Alright, so we can now add a couple of the buttons in here. And now we just need to update our scene manager. So let's save our scene. And in our script, here's our scenes changer. And we're going to add a couple more here. So we'll add a couple more. One of them, then I'll say public void load. Let's see. Load controls. Load controls scene. Open and close a curly bracket, and we'll do scene manager load scene. And then we're going to do a separate one that's going to be called controls credits scene. We don't have that one created yet. Okay, so it'll be the second adjustment there. All right, let it update our script. We need to add an empty game object. And we're going to call this one again scene start, or game start. Scene start, game start. Zero out our transforms. And then we're going to add that scene changer script to that game start. Then our first button, which is our start game, We're going to come down here on click and drag our game start into our on click. And then under scene changer, we're going to do load level scene. And then on our second button, we're going to do add a new button on click, add our game start. And then this one will be loading a load controls scene. There you go. So we'll save. We need to create another scene here. So we're going to do new scene and repeat again. I'll create a camera. We'll go ahead and save. And we'll call this one controls credits scene. Put in our scenes folder. Okay, we'll add a UI element. We'll start with our image. 0, 0. So let's just scale this up here. And then add our background image. Go. Now we can do text. And then we can say controls credits. You need to make it bigger, wider, or taller. Okay, and we can center that. 0 for X and Y. Just gonna move it up some. We can duplicate this more. And let's move this down. There you go. And this will be kind of over here. So this is where like A and B to move. And then you can say space bar to jump. We'll make this taller. Okay, whatever else you might want to put for the controls. I can duplicate this, move that over, and I can say all art and programming created by your name. There you go. So then we can add a couple buttons. UI button. We can really just add one to get back to the start screen. I need about 45. And then I can move this down to the bottom. I can say start screen. Okay, I need to add an empty game object. We'll call this game start again. Put our scene changer script into that game start. And let's save. So then let's go back into our script. And make sure, so we still only just need kind of two things here. We need to go back to that, but we actually need a game start one. So we'll say public void load start scene. And then we will turn down, open and close our curly brackets, scene manager.load scene, open parentheses, and we'll say, I think we called this, so what do we call it? Game start scene. Game start scene. Semicolon. Alright, so let's save. Go back into Unity. Let it update. And then in our button, we're going to come over here, and this is in our controls screen. We're going to add our game start on click. And then the function of that button is going to load start scene. There you go. So we'll save that. Let's open up our game start scene, and we need to go to our second button. And we already got the load controls scene, so we're good to go. So now let's play. We got to remember to go back to our build settings and add our open scenes here. Okay, so we can then hit Control S and then go back to the controls scene and add our open scene there, and then put it in the order that we want to start. So we want our game scene first, we want our game over scene next, and then maybe our controls credits scene second. So the order is how I'm going to set that up. Let's go back to our game start scene and play. Alright, so now I have my start screen. If I hit start game, that starts my game. Okay, I'm going to back out of it to replay the start screen. If I hit play again and go to my controls credits, now that opens up my controls credits page. I can click my start screen button on my controls credits page. That goes back to my start screen. Then now if I play here, I can play until I die. 2, 3, 4. Just trying to jump over everything. 2, 3, 4. And this last time when I die, it should load my end game. So game over. Then I should be able to hit play again and go right back to the start. So then one last thing I could do is go back and go to start screen from the game over screen. But that's overall how we can create new UI screens, a start screen, an end screen, a control screen for a 2D game in Unity. You can create your own kind of variation of that, add more buttons, add more visual graphics to them. But that's overall the basics of how to create those things.